Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Marcos Viegas. Welcome to another edition of this Fight Up TV show, recap show, interview show. Work in progress, but welcome one, welcome all. We're going to go ahead and recap some of the action that happened over the weekend. But just to let you know, on today's show, we're going to have Oscar Valdez, who will speak about his fight against Emmanuel Navarrete coming up, I believe, August 12th in Phoenix, Arizona. The same day, actually, I just thought about it, of Joshua versus Dillian White over in England. But yeah, this Valdez Navarrete fight, I think potentially fight of the year for as long as it lasts, because I do think it's going to last in a knockout. But he's going to speak about that, as well as Canelo's reaction to his fight with Jermell Charlo, and a little bit more things we have in store for Oscar. Also on the show, I call him boxing's ageless wonder with his left hook, which I also dub Old Faithful, multi-division world champion and shoo-in for future Hall of Famer Nonito Donaire will be joining us as well to talk about his fight coming up next week, July 29th, on this Spence versus Crawford undercard. He got moved. He was supposed to fight over the weekend on this Frank Martin card, but I think there was an injury to this Spence Crawford card on the undercard, and he got slotted in. He's taken on, I believe, Santiago. I'll get that name. I'll get back to that name, but he's attempting to be a world champion once again. He'd break his own record of being a world champion at 118 pounds. So we're going to talk to Nonito to preview this fight coming up, but also to kind of get his insight on this Inoue versus Fulton fight that's happening next Tuesday in Japan. It's a weird day to have a fight over there in Japan. Tuesday. Wonder if that would be. It's Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, like 5 a.m. our time. When I say our time, Pacific time. So it's probably like 7 in the morning Eastern time against Inoue in Japan. Just odd that it's on a Tuesday. You would think for a fight that big in Inoue, I think it's one of the biggest athletes in all of Japan to have a fight on that day. Kind of strange, but Nonito is gonna give us his insight on that fight, as well as Spence and Crawford. But yeah, over the weekend, some action, some good solid action. Alicia Baumgartner won her rematch versus Christina Leonardato. I'm so bad with these last names. Honestly, I missed the fight. Because I was at Frank Martin's fight, so I haven't had a chance to watch to see how she looked. Our Marcus Hayes told me that it was a pretty solid fight. He was texting me while the Frank Martin card was happening, but she got a unanimous decision. She improved to 15-1 and remains undisputed champion at 130 pounds. But she called for a fight with Katie Taylor, who just lost, actually, and Amanda Serrano at 135 pounds. Amanda Serrano returning to the ring on this Jake Paul card coming up, I believe, August 5th or 4th. Not sure. Dude, there's so many fights going on, so many events going on that a lot of this stuff is a blur. Don't even have time for myself. These dates are all confusing and they're starting to blur. So yeah, August 5th or 4th. It's in Dallas. Nate versus Jake. It's catchy, by the way. Also on this card, though, on the Baumgartner card, Andy Cruz made his very anticipated debut. He's a double gold medalist, Cuban Olympian, was successful, beat Juan Carlos Burgos. And I got a chance to see that fight because that fight was on before the Frank Martin fight. And one thing, as the fight was going out, as it was getting to like the 4th or 5th round, I remember I stood there watching, and he's landing his combinations. And look, he looked good, very slick defensively, good quick hands, like in Spanish say, like tiene bien rapidez. You know, he's quick, he's good speed, good reflexes. He was good close in the distance and pulling out as well. And in exchanges, he was well. But I felt like, you know what? He doesn't have power. I don't know if it's a thing where he's still adjusting to the pro style, because I know when you go from amateur to the pros, the one thing you always hear from any fighter when you tell them, like, hey, what's been an adjustment or what's been a thing that you've been working on, they always say, I'm working on sitting on my punches. And when they say that, you know, sitting on my punches. They always look to um, put more weight on their punches, so they're able to hurt opponents with those punches. So I guess that's the one thing that the impression that I was left with in that bout that Andy had was that. Now there's a lot of, I don't want to say expecting, but fans are wanting to see him go ahead and tussle with Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn Davis actually fought that guy that Andy Cruz fought in his 6th pro fight. So I know people are already like analyzing, hey, look, how did Andy Cruz look compared to how Keyshawn looked in those 2 fights? Andy's the guy that beat Keyshawn in the Olympics. So bright future ahead for Andy Cruz, but we'll see what happens as his pro career progresses. They're going to be aggressive with him, I feel, in terms of placing him already into title contention, just given that he's won 2 gold medals and his age. And we've seen it before. We've seen it with Vasily Lomachenko, where he went and challenged for the world title in his 2nd fight, ends up losing to Orlando Salido, but then goes into another fight, his 3rd fight with Gary Russell. Damn, I was there. That happened at the StubHub Center. Gary Russell, where we were all left like, wow, like this dude is for reals. Wins the world title in his 3rd fight. I don't think we will see Andy Cruz in a title fight in his 3rd fight, but I believe they are going to push him very aggressively towards title contention here with his next few fights. And like I had mentioned, over the weekend, Frank the Ghost Martin getting a competitive, tough decision win over Artem Harutyunyan. I think I finally got it. Tongue twister of a name that is. But I feel being there live and seeing Artem fight, seeing Frank fight. Errol Spence was there in attendance. Frank is one of Errol's fighters for his promotion company. I'm going to put a clip of Errol Spence as he gave us a few minutes to talk about this Terrence Crawford fight. And I'll go ahead and roll what Frank said about his fight, his performance. He was a little tough on himself. He graded himself a B. I could see why, but I think Artem was a lot better than what people expected. And this is the thing that we always fall into as boxing fans. If we don't know the name of the opponent, we think he's trash. He's not any good. And a guy like Frank, given the performances he's had these last 2-3 fights, as a fan, not knowing much about his opponent, you think that he's just going to go completely steamroll the guy, demolish him, look spectacular, and get a knockout. Dude, this guy Artem got a little bit of that goat drip from Artem Lobov, the goat. What up, Artem? Love that guy. But he's an Olympic bronze medalist, man. He's a solid guy, man. Awkward, good power, tricky at times. He gave Frank some hiccups in there, that's for sure. Look, this is a big. I think this was a great fight for Frank in his development. He's going to learn a lot from this performance. There's going to be guys there that you will be hesitant to throw your combinations. Artem was always moving, always turning corners. It was tricky. He was getting himself out of position, so Frank couldn't land some of his punches. Really, sneaky veteran type stuff from Frank's opponent. And you know what? Like, I feel like the future for Artem is very, very bright as well in this division, 135 pounds. He gave a very, very good account of himself, and I think we're going to see a lot more of him in the future in terms of the fights that he gets. But with that being said, man, I think fighters are always hypercritical of themselves. It makes sense when you look into the psychology of people like that. And I think I mentioned it in the last week's episode, especially with high achievers. We're always very, very overly critical of ourselves. But there's a few things I feel he could pick up on to improve. One, Artem landed, and I've seen these punches landed on southpaws recently. Most notably, Canelo against Billy Joe Saunders, where a southpaw will dip, and there'll be like a hooking counter shot response from the right hand, and Artem landed a lot of those punches on Frank. Also, a lot of punches to the body, uppercuts. So I believe he could look back at the tape, take a look as to why he got hit with those punches, and make little adjustments. This was a great learning experience fight for him. Being there live and seeing the scores of the fight. Hey, look, Artem was winning this fight for I want to say up until the 5th or 6th round, and just overall, I feel like the more damaging work came from Frank. There was multiple occasions in that fight that Frank hurt Artem, and it looked like if he maybe might have pressed the gas, he could have gotten him Artem out of the fight and got a knockout win. And going into the 12th, I felt, look, the tide of the fight is changing. Going into that 12th round, I believe Frank Martin had won 10 and 11. Like, look, he's catching up. People on Twitter are telling me Artem's winning the fight, 6-3 at that point, 10 and 11. It's an even fight. Derek's telling him, like, look, you got to knock this guy out. We're not privy to the corner instructions, but I'm hearing from people on Twitter saying, like, yo, Derek's telling him, like, yo, you need to get a knockout. You need to have some urgency in here. And he did. He really turned the fight around in his favor in those last 3 rounds, 10, 11, and 12. Artem took the knee. I felt as soon as he took the knee with that extra point, that lost him the fight. Lost him the draw, because it was getting close up to that point. When you look at the scorecards, knockdown or not, it wouldn't have made a difference. Frank Martin would have won by a point, but it was a very, very, very close fight. And I feel a very great learning experience for Frank. The other guys at 135 pounds, are probably going to take a look at the tape and see, with movement, the shots that landed on Frank, I got something to work with there. Was surprised that Frank didn't let his hands go a little bit more, but it could be the positioning of Artem in that fight. But like I mentioned, we had a chance to catch up with Frank Martin after the fight, hear his thoughts and what he wants for the future. So let's go ahead and roll the tape of what Frank had to say about his performance and what he expects from himself and future fights.
Hey Frank, man, he ended up being a pretty tricky opponent, man. What'd you make overall of how the fight evolved to the decision?
He was tough. I had to make some adjustments in there. My timing was off a little bit. I made the adjustments. I don't know why, but my instincts were off just a little bit tonight. But we got the W, so that's all that matters.
I felt like you didn't let your hands go like you usually do early on.
Yeah.
What do you think that might have been?
Just really trying to figure out the shots he was going to throw the most, and what I basically, like, watching out for the big shot, just seeing what shots he was throwing, like, consistently. He kind of
looping shots.
Yeah,
and when you would dip down, he would loop in there too.
Yeah, so really trying to see what shots he was trying to shoot and openings he was trying to get throughout the whole night. So I was just really trying to adapt to his awkward style.
I think it was the 6th round. You had him really hurt about halfway through. I felt like maybe you could have maybe went a little harder to try to get him out of there then, or were you kind of
the
thing you were looking for?
The thing about it, when I hurt him, I stayed on him for a while. I hurt him early, so I stayed on him for a while. He was taking a lot of the shots he was covering up. I could have went to the body more instead of head hunting, but I wasn't gonna punch myself out. You know what I mean? And get caught with a shot or anything like that. So, I pressed the issue as soon as I hurt him, but I wasn't just finna chase him around just throwing big shots and get caught with a shot,
You actually hurt him to the body. Was that shot not there again during that 6? It looked like you had him hurt to the body.
Honestly, man, I just didn't target the body enough tonight. I should have been on the body a lot more. It was there, but like my instincts, my reaction time was off tonight.
Frank, any reaction? What's your reaction to Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney were talking a little bit on social media? Shakur Stevenson said levels, as if he's levels above. And what's your reaction to those guys having something to say?
It is what it is. You know what I mean? If they got something to say about it, hey, it is what it is. So whenever those fights happen, we'll see what the reactions will be in those fights. know, so don't. If they see flaw in this performance, you know what I mean? The guy was actually tougher than what a lot of people, you know, gave him his props for, or people really was sleeping on the guy, you know? He was an Olympian, you know, so, you know, he had a lot of awkward style, you know, and he had power. The guys they fighting ain't got no power, so I ain't even worried about what they talking about.
Did you think the fight was as close as the judges had it?
I feel like I don't feel like it was that close. You know, I feel like when I wanted to turn up, I feel like I was sitting back a little too much, waiting a little too much. You know, so that was just that.
Frank, talk about, we didn't hear it, obviously, we weren't watching the telecast, but I saw on Twitter and stuff, Derek was kind of really on you saying that, you know, I believe at one point he said he thinks you were losing, that he thought you needed a knockout. Just talk about the conversation with Derek. And I feel like once I started seeing those comments on Twitter, I felt like you kind of put your foot on the gas a little bit.
You know, Derek, he just, you know, he big on, you know, not leaving stuff in the judge's hands, you know, so I respect it, you know, and I trust what he was saying, so he said I was down, so, you know, he was pressing the issue for me to pick it up, and I needed to get a stoppage, you know, so I was looking for it. It didn't, you know, that opening didn't present itself, but I did turn up, you know, and press the issue in those later rounds when I needed to.
Sorry, was there something the later the fight went that, because it felt like the more aggressive you got, the more successful you were. Was there something that you saw that you were like, okay, I gotta take
it was just like when I was aggressive and moving forward, it was like I was doing what I wanted to do. So it was just like, why wait for him to throw out these shots? Yeah, you may be catching him, but you know he throwing punches. Like, don't just be catching them. Go forward and you know, shoot your shots. Because when you going forward, like he bagging up, you know. So just shoot your shots.
How close do you think you were to a stoppage on the 12th round? It seemed like you were kind of on him, thinking maybe you almost had it.
Yeah, I was on him. You know, I was really just trying to land a big shot. I really wasn't like my mind wasn't all the way open. You know, like to the point where I was like super like calculated on shot placement. You know, I felt like I was just kind of like I got ahead of myself a little bit.
Congratulations on a big win. I told you before, this guy was legit.
Oh, yeah.
People don't know him, so they count him down. You're now the WBC #1 guy. If you fought Devin Haney in 2 weeks, what happened?
I beat him.
Decision or knockout?
Knockout.
What round?
Probably like the 8th round. You know, this guy fought, man. This guy was tough.
Yeah, he's
you
big.
know,
He wasn't 135 tonight.
He wasn't. You know, I thought that, you know, a lot of times I'm normally the bigger guy. He was actually a big dude. You know, he could take a shot too. So yeah, for sure.
Your performance at tonight, Frank?
I give myself a B.
And yesterday I talked to you and you said you wanted to not just win but send a statement to the division.
For sure.
Did you think you sent that statement? And so what was that statement, sir?
I mean, I didn't have the performance that I wanted to have. You know, I got the W. You know, that's all that mattered. I'm keeping my head up at the end of the day, you know. It wasn't my best performance in my eyes, you know. I got so much in my arsenal, but tonight I was just off a little tad bit.
Errol Spence is 2 weeks before his big fight. He took time. He didn't have to come tonight. He's in camp. He's cutting weight. How does it make you feel to have Errol Spence, one of the best, not the best pump and pump?
It make me go harder, you know. Like while I was in there fighting, you know, he was talking to me. You know, he was telling me like, you gotta pick it up. You gotta shoot this shot, shoot that shot. You know what I mean? So it's dope having that. It's like an extra boost, you know. It's like, because I know like what he's telling me is the right thing, you know. So it's dope to have that.
We're not entirely sure if Devin Haney plans to stay at 135 right now, given that he wants to entertain 140. If you can't get that fight at some point in the near future, who's on your hit list?
I want all the top guys at 135. All the top guys everybody know. You know, I don't want to keep name dropping all these guys, but all the top, you know, the top guys, you know, I want them.
Hey Frank, not comparing your fight with Arrows with Kell Brook, but there was a moment where it was a tough fight, but he took a knee and then everyone seen his eye, you know, and people were screaming out, eye collector in the crowd. Did you feel like, you know, something about that training camp is collecting eyes? Is that what?
I don't know. I think we just hit hard. You know what I mean? And I think it's a difference. You know, like you got some fighters who just load up. You know, they land big shots. But I feel like it's a little more calculated on the punch placement on our end. You know, like those big shots come while we doing certain things we're supposed to be doing. You know, some things I didn't do that I was supposed to be doing, you know, to get the stoppage tonight.
You told me at the
we're done. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Frank, congratulations. Off to the next.
Appreciate you.
You mentioned you grade yourself a B.
All right, we're good.
I was off, you know, instincts was off a little bit, you know, with some things I seen, my body just wasn't reacting how I needed to react.
All right, Frank, here we go, Frank. 2 times you headline in Vegas, looking at put something back in Indianapolis.
That was Frank Martin, gave himself a B. I would have given him a B. Yeah, you know what? I think B is fair given that the punches landed on him and it was a close fight. It was a close fight, but you heard him knock out 8-9 rounds against Devin Haney. He's looking for the big fights. This was a fight that puts him in the number one position to challenge for the WBC title. We don't know what's happening with Devin Haney, if he's going to move up to 140 pounds. It's looking like that's the move given what he's tweeted at Teofimo Lopez. Lopez, I don't think anybody really took his retirement super serious, but WBO mentioning that Teofimo Lopez is going to keep his title. So it's looking, if it's not Haney, there's still Gervonta, which it's an in-house fight. It's a great fight. I think there'll be a lot of fan anticipation for a Frank Martin versus Gervonta Davis fight. Shakur Stevenson, a little bit more difficult, man, to see a fight like that happening. You got to look within the PBC stable. Isaac Cruz against Frank Martin is a tremendous fight. I like that fight, but Isaac Cruz has made it clear that his sights are set on a Gervonta Davis rematch. And given that we might see Frank with some of the other guys in the top 10 at 135 pounds. But, hey, what's the rush? Take your time. I feel, you're going to get that shot. Learn from this fight that you had with Artem and keep building. Even though I feel even at this point, he's more than ready to be able to compete and potentially win against any of those fighters mentioned. Errol Spence, like I said, fights Terrence Crawford July 29th. He was there in attendance. Let's go ahead and roll the clip of a few minutes time that Errol shared with us, in which he pointed out that he feels or reveals the reason why he feels he wins this fight against Crawford.
Errol, looking forward to the big fight in 2 weeks. Gervonta Davis made a prediction on the fight. He said one guy's bringing a metal shield, yourself, and the other guy's bringing a glass shield in Bud, and that's a big reason why you'll win the fight. What do you think of Tank's assessment of the fight?
He's right. It's going to be battle of the will and who can break who down. And I know that I can break him down. I know that he's not as durable as me. And my skill set is going to overpower anything that he brings to the table.
What do you think about your skill set is going to be the most overpowering for him to deal with in the fight?
Basically everything. It doesn't matter what it is. Just me being fundamentally sound, me being defensive responsible, and just staying focused the whole fight.
He said the Jose Benavidez fight was probably the toughest fight of his career. And I think you said back in the day you had your way with him in sparring. Is there anything to take away from that or that you take away from it?
No, not at all. I mean, it was a good fight. He fought a one-legged Jose Benavidez, and it was the toughest fight of his career. That says a lot.
What does it say?
I mean, he fought a one-legged Jose Benavidez. So what do you think it says?
Well, what is Terrence's best victory for you?
Probably, I would say, probably Gamboa.
Why do you say that?
Because I can't think of anybody else.
Did you say Postal? Was it Postal?
Gamboa.
No. I meant recently. Was there another time?
Yeah, I did say Postal too. So probably Postal and Gamboa.
Errol, there's actually spoke with Stephen the other day. Derek mentioned about how he's been clipped by you guys by accident while training. Do you want to sort of give like a story or instance where that's happened with you guys?
Well, it wasn't. I didn't clip him. I hit his glove, and he wasn't holding on. Like he wasn't firm with it, so his glove had hit his lip, and then that's why he walking around with a bruised lip.
He said you hit him in the eye.
Man, I mean, it probably happened. Yeah. I mean, it still happens. I mean, throwing punches sometimes hot in the gym. You're tired. You throwing combinations. You unloading, and you might slip off because of sweat too. So you might slip off the miss and hit him in the eye or whatever. It happens.
Errol, there's some new additions, obviously, to your camp with Anthony Joshua and also Ryan Garcia. What's the dynamic been like with you guys?
It's dope. Everybody's everybody's cool. Got good personality. And you know, usually Derek has a good job of, you know, giving people their own hours. So usually, and we see each other in passing, and then or Joshua sparring, I might watch him spar. If I'm sparring, he might watch me spar. And sometimes me and Joshua train together. And Ryan, you know, he pops in, I think, a little bit later. And, you know, everything been good. Everybody's been super, you know, cordial, talking to each other, friendly with each other. And it's been cool.
One of your sparring partners, Sam Keller, told me he picks you to win big time. He said he watched you spar 19 rounds in 110-degree weather. He said no one's going to break you.
Oh, that's great. That's good that he says it. I mean, yeah, I have done it before, so.
Hey, Errol, just on the business side, you know, a lot of people said that you're the A side. How much did you have to kind of I wouldn't say concede, but just kind of work with Crawford and making this fight happen? Did you feel like you had to give up some stuff?
Oh, yeah. You know, I gave up a lot of stuff. But, you know, my main objective was to make the fight happen by any means, even though, you know, my people wanted to, after a while, they wanted to walk away from the fight because, you know, out of just all that, you know, outrageous demands. And then when you meet his demands, then he moves the goalpost. So, you know, I feel like it was definitely me that got this fight because, you know, I really wanted it. So I was willing to, you know, let my ego go, my pride go, and give him the stuff that he wanted that, you know, the people that was in my corner didn't think I was going to do.
Was it some of the, like, percentage or money or just ring walks or just, like, what we're just curious on how you were able to make this fight materialize? Because it seems like you kind of made the fight.
Yeah, definitely. Percentages. Even ring walk, we gotta flip a coin to see who's gonna walk last. So it was just stuff like that. Even though I'm the A side, you know, I gotta flip a coin.
Is it on the night?
Yeah, is it like right before the fight?
I don't know if it's on the night or if it's at the weigh-in, but we have to flip a coin to see.
You guys gonna do like a ceremony like type thing, like at
I don't know. We just gotta flip a coin. So.
Early, trying to get into it with Derek, your coach. What would have happened if they fought?
I don't know, man.
Derek was talking about snapping next.
But Derek a big dude. Derek's an ex-fighter, so he definitely can his own.
I don't know if it's like synergy or chemistry. You guys kind of bounce off each other in terms of banter. Do you actually think that when it's all said and done, that you guys can be friends?
I don't know. I really don't care. That ain't even on my mind. My mind is to try to break him, his will. So that ain't on my mind right now. We probably could, but I don't.
That's a post-fight question then.
Yeah, I don't care.
How much is it on your mind, Errol? 154 beyond this fight.
I'm currently making weight now, so it's been on my mind. So yeah, so I definitely move up after this fight. If we have 2 fights, then after the 2 fights, I'll move up.
Is Jermell
thank y'all guys.
Huh?
Is Jermell a never fight, or never say never when it comes to you and Jermell?
I don't know. That's something me and Jermell got to talk about. So I just wish him the best in his fight with Canelo.
Man, I can't wait for this Spence Crawford fight. You know what? Spence and Crawford are having workouts this week. And I've heard this from people in the camp and from Errol multiple times in the buildup to this fight. He sees something that he feels he can break Terrence Crawford. He doesn't feel he's as durable. And I wonder if the reason why he feels that is because he's been dropped by smaller guys. We've seen him drop against, stunned against Gamboa. Mean Machine dropped him. So I wonder if he looks at that and says, look, these guys are a lot smaller than me. I'm a lot bigger than these guys. I'm a lot better than these guys. I'm a bigger puncher. What's going to happen when I put it on you? How are you going to react? And you would think you're not going to react well. You're going to get knocked down and knocked down a lot. So curious if that's the reason why he feels that Crawford isn't as durable. But man, this fight, there's so many things because the other part of me is like, oh, okay. How is the switch stances of Crawford going to play into this fight also as well? Many other fighters and trainers have said, hey, look, if you take one weapon away from Terrence, he has another weapon. Very versatile, very multifaceted in there. His ability to adapt and to counterpunch. And look, the great counterpunchers and throughout boxing are able to take their opponent's output and their value and cut it down significantly, more times than not in half, So we'll see what happens. That fight going down July 29th. The big news, though, Tyson Fury taking on Francis Ngannou in Saudi Arabia in October. One of these again. Let's see. My initial thoughts are, I'm not mad at it. And a lot of you guys watching probably being like, why? And trust me, I've seen a lot of the feedback from fans. And hey, look, you guys have more than any right whatsoever to be mad at it, because I see the point. Look, there was fights with Usyk, there was fights with Joshua. They could have fought Otto Wallin again. Could have fought, top 10 guy. You're the number one heavyweight in the world. You're the WBC heavyweight champion, and you fight a guy in Francis Ngannou who's never fought in a boxing match before. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Big money. That's why. This is a fight that has the potential to. It's an event, really. That's what it is. It's an event that it gets that curiosity factor. It's like, it's not a train wreck, but it's an event where you're curious to see how a guy like Francis Ngannou, who's a huge freaking puncher, man. And this is another interesting thing that I want to pose to people. Could he be a bigger puncher than a Deontay Wilder? Hey, look, Ngannou has like a Guinness World Record for being like the biggest puncher in MMA. I'm not sure if they counted it towards all of combat sports, but in MMA, he's seen as the biggest puncher. And when you look at Fury's fights that he had with Wilder, and all those fights, he was knocked down. Okay. And Fury, when you look at him technically, it was the vastly more superior technical fighter. But in those two fights, he chose to fight Wilder, pressuring him, going to him, wanting to exchange with him because he wanted to go ahead and use his size. And look, I'm going to look up the size of Francis Ngannou, but Ngannou is a big guy. And I got this weird voice in my head that says it's going to be a lot better than what people think. I can be completely wrong. You guys would probably call me crazy, call me stupid for saying that. Like, Marcos, how can you even say this? Ngannou's not a boxer. He hasn't been boxing his whole life. He started late to MMA. Look at how he's looked in his fights, in his stand-up. You have a guy in Tyson Fury who's the best heavyweight in the world, one of the pound-for-pound best guys right now in boxing. He's skilled. He's big. He's long. He's mobile. Doesn't move like a heavyweight. How the heck is this guy going to be able to compete with Tyson Fury? Like, really? Really? I don't know, man. I just have this weird thing that he's going to do better than what people think. And my God, if he connects on Tyson Fury, I don't know if Fury's going to get up. Honestly, bro. Honestly. Just because of this guy, Ngannou, just by looking at him in the vicious knockouts he's had, and like, oh, well, Marcos, he's had smaller gloves. Those are smaller gloves. Imagine Deontay Wilder in the smaller gloves. He'd probably get that body that he wants on the record. That's for sure. Yeah, maybe it will mitigate the power of Ngannou, but no, this guy is a special puncher, man. And I think that's the real allure here, at least for me. If he lands that one punch, and I've heard it, he's not even going to land a punch, Marcos. What are you talking about? Dude, you don't know anything. But that big if, I think, is going to be the selling point for that fight. That's really going to get people wanting to see, if he lands, what's going to happen? I don't know. And I think that's why I'm interested in this fight. Really, for sure. Like, yeah, I understand we'd rather have wanted the Usyk fight. According to Frank Warren, that fight wasn't going to get made. The team Usyk wanted more money. They thought they were going to get more money from Saudi. That didn't happen. You're saying that the Joshua fight wouldn't have happened either, because when they presented the contract over to him, he didn't have a trainer yet. So how is this going to happen if he didn't have a trainer? I get it. We want to see the world's heavyweight champion take on other boxers, not go in this. And look, we've seen this once before. Say, hey, look, we saw it with Conor versus Floyd, and we saw what happens when a boxer who's been boxing his whole life goes against someone in an MMA fighter who just trains in that one facet, not his whole life. And we saw how that played out. And it's going to be the same story. But I feel with heavyweight fights, man, yeah, the smaller guys, they're more technical. I'd say, yeah, pretty accurate. But I feel, and it sounds cliche, but if there is ever a division in boxing where that saying is, it only takes one punch, and it has happened more than the smaller divisions, it's the heavyweight division. And you can't overlook, for all his deficiencies, not as skilled, not as experienced in the boxing ring, you can't take away the simple fact that Francis Ngannou can take you out with one punch. It only takes once for him. And we've seen it happen in the heavyweight division. I'm telling you, the marketing department, whoever's putting on this fight, you need to run with that. You need to run with that. And I just have this weird voice in my head that says, like, look, man, crazier things have happened. Now, if I were to be a betting man, of course, we're all going to put our money on Tyson Fury. Like, come on. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm completely wrong, and sometimes I'm right with these things. But with that said, man, let's go ahead and bring in our first guest of the day, Mr. Oscar Valdez, who's taking on Emmanuel Navarrete coming up in Phoenix, Arizona. Let's go to Oscar right now. Being joined with now Mr. Oscar Valdez, who is coming close to his fight. Very anticipated, one that I think it's going to be just a knockout, drag out type of fight against Emmanuel Navarrete coming up August, I believe, 12th, a month away almost. Mr. Oscar Valdez, Phoenix, going down. How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm excited for this new opportunity. A month away from this big fight that we've been waiting for so much, man, for so long. I've been waiting to fight, Vaquero Navarrete. Things after things were happening in my life. Like I said before, I broke my rib, and then I thought I was already healed, and I re-injured it or broke it again in a sparring session, and it was like, wow. But now that I'm here, now that I'm here in camp, I'm being extra careful, working very hard, like always work hard, but just taking care of myself as much as I can, and physically and mentally well prepared for this fight, and just can't wait to go back. Practically my hometown. Arizona is my hometown, and fighting for my people, fighting with my people. I mean, also Nora there, Arizona, and everywhere all over the place are coming to see this fight. I see a lot of people who are Team Vaquero Navarrete, and I see a lot of Team Valdez there. So it's like, it's going to be a great night. It's going to be a great night, but I'm most definitely going to be well prepared to give my best, and to try to give the fans what they want, which is a good fight, good night of boxing. We all saw Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera, Juan Manuel Marquez, and all these fighters, Mexican fighters, that when they've got two Mexican fighters, there's always a war. So it's like, I'm up for the test. I'm up for the test and can't wait. I want to give the fans what they want.
So I got a ton of questions for you, man. And I just got to write it down because something just came to my mind, actually. But the first thing is new tattoo. Right here in the throat. Where'd you get that?
I don't know. I was going through some depressions.
Oh, no, really?
No, I just mess with it. I tell that to my father.
Yeah.
Mess with my family about that. But no, everything's gone well. Everything's gone well in life. But yeah, man, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm a big tattoo fan. I love tattoos. I got a lot of friends who are fully tatted, even some friends that have tattoos on their face and everything, their head. And I've always been a fan, but I've never done it because of what are they gonna say? Because you always try to be this perfect person of this perfect image that you have to always be well dressed, and of course you always got to be well dressed, but we always carry this image of that, man, that you're gonna be criticized, you're gonna be always look like a bad person. And then one day I was like, man, if I really want it, why don't I do it? I do it because of people, or do it because of me? And I said, man, if I want it, I'll do it. So I started little by little, getting more. My plan is to get much more, but to get tattoos, you need time. And that's something that we don't got right now. My time is to strictly train and to get back in the boxing world, because we're not getting any younger. And once I retire, I might be fully tatted from neck down. But right now,
no Mike Tyson tats on the face.
No, I don't ever picture myself with my face tattooed. See right there, that's a personal opinion. I don't think it would look good. with as far as my kids and like that. But from here I could cover it. I could have a tuxedo and cover it in, and everything looks good. But
that's a bull, right?
Yeah, it's more like a Sonora symbol. So
Okay.
we live in the desert. Every time you're around my ranch, once you go into my ranch, you will always see like desertly. There's always a skull next to a typical skull. It's there, the bull skull. So it's mostly that symbol. But I've got my animals. I got my alligator Steve, I got my dog Chapo, and then got my parrots. And since
Wait, where's Steve at? I've got to see the Steve tag.
I thought you Steve.
The legendary Steve, his alligator. There's Steve. Yeah.
I got my parrot, and I got my dog Chapo.
Oh man, bro! I think I told you this before, but you're gonna end up opening up a zoo when you're done with your career, bro. You're gonna be Oscar Valdez, the animal whisperer.
Yeah, I love my animals. It's my favorite spot. It's my temple. It's my relaxed area. When people, my friends, people who actually come to my ranch, which you guys are all welcome to go.
Oh hell yeah! Take me to the rancho, bro, for reals.
When you guys go to a ranch, you guys can see that it's pure love, nature. It's we don't really talk about boxing. If you guys want to talk boxing, we'll talk about boxing. But it's right there at the ranch. It's just getting intoxicated from all the boxing world. It's just getting everything from the business side, from this and from problems. You go to a ranch and you got nothing but peace and love with the animals. You got my parrots who they all climb to you and they show you the same love. So it's like it's my favorite spot. And my goal is to put all my animals around. So it's like
you're gonna be filled up then, bro. Hey, wait, you don't butcher the animals over there, do you? Do you make your own food?
No, I've never. Once you put a name to them, you won't butcher them. I actually got an offer yesterday to sell one of my goats. I got a lot of goats, and I was like, man, do I really need the money right now? Nah, I don't really need the money, man. No, I'm sorry, man. I can't sell you one of my goats. I love my goats. It's like,
but you gotta cook us some birria. Come on.
Oh yeah, I'll cook somebody else's goat, not my goat. Not my animal. If you want some pigs, I'll get some pigs from somebody, from my next door neighbor at the ranch. We'll get some pigs from him, but not my.
Oh man, side story. My dad brought home a goat one time after my wrestling practice. And he stuffed it in our minivan, and I saw it, and I was like, "What in the hell?" And he's like, "Don't tell your mom! Don't tell your mom!" And he hid it in the garage, and it woke my mom up like at 2 a.m. because it started eating stuff and scraping the window. We ended up naming the goat, which we named it Billy, not because of Billy Goat, but because my dad didn't like my aunt's son as a joke. His name was Billy, so he named him Billy after the goat.
Because the Chivo was Spanish, or because he's a goat of the greatest of all time? Or
no, Chivo. But we end up naming it, and then he ends up butchering it 3 years later. Yeah, he didn't care if it had a name.
I couldn't. Unless we have a necessity, like an apocalyptic thing, but we have to eat it, then that's different. But right now, my animals they're happy animals. They're well taken care of. We got a friend who's a veterinarian. They're all well taken care of. Because then I got a lot of people who are pretty much like animal activists, and I get a lot of criticism, like, well, why you keep them? Why you have an alligator? Why you have those parrots? And I have a big aviary for my parrots because I don't like them in that little small cage. I like them to be free flying and have what I'm trying to say is my animals are all well taken care of. For all those animal activists out there trying to
you love your animals. That's for sure. Hey, where are you at right now? I'm not familiar with the setting behind you.
Yeah, so right now we're in Lake Tahoe.
Wow,
here. It's beautiful out here. This is my first time training over here, and I got to talk to Eddie. From now on, all my camps have to be here because it's just so beautiful. We got the high altitude. I love running. That's one of my biggest things. I love running, and there's a lot of beautiful spots where to run. You got the lake right here. It's nice and cold. The people here are amazing, and we got the gym here. We got Canelo just set up he wanted to train over here, so we all come over here, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
Yeah. So, how did that happen? Was it like a Canelo choice? Like, yo, I want to train in Lake Tahoe, or
it was Eddie's? It was Eddie's choice. We were looking for high altitude. Eddie wanted. We usually go to Guadalajara, but I think there's maybe a lot of distractions in Guadalajara, so I think that's the main reason why Eddie wants us to train over here in Lake Tahoe. But we're not sure how much we're gonna last year, but I'm taking advantage as much as I can because I love the spot. I love the high altitude, love the mountains. There's a lot of I've heard that there's a lot of big population of bears here, black and brown bears. So
you're gonna come back with a baby bear to add to your collection, bro. Oh man, Chavez Senior used to train over there in Lake Tahoe, but like Big Bear is so much closer. Why didn't you guys go with Big Bear?
I don't know. So I was asking the same question. You know, I haven't had the chance to talk to Eddie about that. Why not Big Bear? But you know what? You know, now that I'm here, you know, I wouldn't want to go to Big Bear. You know, it's beautiful over here. It's beautiful. It's nice and peaceful. We're isolated from everybody else. We're high in the mountains. There's this right here. It's a cabin. We're here in a cabin. There's right now me and my cousin Bubba, and soon to be the Dr. La Madrid here with us. And it's just this is nice and relaxing to read a book, to be outside in nature, to, you know, go out and train, come back, relax. You know, it's a perfect place to have a training camp for sure.
Oh man, I've heard a lot of nice things about Lake Tahoe, and I hear it's a very, very beautiful place. And yeah, it does get cold. It snows a lot over there during the winter. Like I mentioned, a month away from this fight, man. How long have you already been training for this? Because I know this is something that you've known for a while now, that this fight was happening even before the Blue Nose fight. Like you knew, like this was the end goal.
So we've been training for this fight since November of last year.
Oh, geez.
But then, you know, how people know that I had the rib injury, then postponed, then I got offered a fight prior to this one, and Adam Lopez. I was like, I'll take it. Pretty much, they told me, you know, you're not gonna be main event, you're not gonna be this and that, you're not gonna be paid a lot, but you got to fight. I was like, man, I'll take it, because I've noticed that, you know, I've always known that boxing has been for me, but you never know how much you miss it till you're out. And it's like you never know how much you love it till you're like, till you don't have it, till when you're not a champion anymore. And it's like, man, I just want to be in there, you know. And I get paid for this. Like, wow, man, this is what I love to do, you know. So it's like being in there in the ring with Adam Lopez, just like, wow, I was just very happy to be back. So now that I'm, you know, after Adam Lopez, we try to take just a week off, you know, and back to training again, back to running, which is it's more complicated than what it looks, because when you start too early, you might peak too early. So it's like who would have known that your problem might be working too hard. You know, there's fighters out there who don't work too hard. Our problem is that, you know, you got to slow down a bit. So that was the game plan at first. But now that we're full camp, it's like, all right, now this is what we like to do. This is my world. This is where I like waking up in the mornings, drinking a coffee, going to the gym, coming back, you know, resting, thinking about boxing, waking up and boxing, going to sleep, thinking about boxing. Just, I know I'm definitely going to be well prepared for this side, because we've been doing everything how we should be doing it.
The gym's in the house, right?
No, it's a private gym that Eddie has.
Oh, so it's your guys' cabin, and then there's a gym somewhere in Tahoe as well. Yeah. Ah, okay, I see. When you look at this fight, Oscar, man, I would imagine, just given Navarrete's last fight when he fought the Australian, I believe Wilson. I was there. You were there in person as well. He almost got put out, man. You know, and Navarrete, the thing with him was when he was in the smaller divisions, his power really made a huge difference with those guys, and he could get away with a lot of the mistakes he would make. You know, you now being in camp, seeing him live for that fight, you got to think, bro, like that a knockout is very much possible in this fight. Would you agree?
I agree. I don't, I agree that this fight can end very soon, or like it can end very soon in the early rounds. It could be a bloody bad 12 rounds, or we all have a game plan until we get inside the ring. It goes through a window. You know, it's been happened before, where I say, I'm gonna go in there with this fighter, and I'm going in there with Scott Quigg, and he's a shorter fighter. So I'm using that reach. I'm gonna box him all over the ring for 12 rounds. Now make it complicated. And then after getting hit, it's like all that what you were thinking goes out the window, and you got to stay in there and brawl it out. So it's like that could be one of these cases. Then that seeing his last fight, I learned two things. The first thing and the easiest way to think is that he opens up too much and he's not invincible. He got sent to the canvas in his last fight, so it's like, that's the easy way to think. Like, oh, if he did it, I can do it as well. But then you got the other side of it. There's like, oh, he did get up. He did get up and he did fight and he brawled it out and he showed hard and he didn't stop. He didn't quit, and he ended up knocking his opponent out. So I like being prepared. I'd rather be prepared for the second version, the one that he got up and did everything he could, and he ended up knocking him out. I'd rather be prepared for that vaquero Navarrete because, you can never count out a Mexican fighter who's a warrior who has a big heart like vaquero. So that's what makes this fight very special. That was two Mexican fighters that were both hungry. We both want to prove who's the best in 130 division. And we're gonna do our best. We're gonna fight with our hearts, and we're just gonna give it our best. So I'll be prepared for that version. Because like I said, I've heard oh, you're gonna get him with this shot, you're gonna get him with that shot, you're gonna knock him out. And it's like, yeah, that's what you think. I don't like thinking like that. I like thinking that the best version of Vaquero is gonna come after me, and I gotta be my A game from all sorts of different angles. He throws punches. I gotta be always prepared. So I'd rather be prepared for that Vaquero Navarrete than I should be thinking that I can knock him out in the early rounds. So expect the worst. So if something happens, know what to expect.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point, and people would on the surface see what you just said, and then see what you did to what some people would categorize maybe similar in Miguel Burchelt. Same kind of mistakes, loopy, and like, dude, you had one of the knockouts of the year that year for that, and be like, oh, whoa, no, Oscar's gonna knock him out. It's the same exact thing. Would you say that this is a mostly similar type of style?
Not similar styles, it's similar. People I've heard this a lot before saying whether it's going to be like that fight. And I don't think it could be. I mean, hopefully it does. That'll be great. Not going to be here. This and that are my favorite. But, a lot of times it doesn't. Most of the times, actually, it doesn't happen the way you actually think is going to happen. Something magical happen. Actually, it's not the same because when I was fighting with Brichette, I was a 6-1. He was a 6-1 favorite. No one really. A lot of people didn't think I was going to win. And so that's what made that fight very special. But this fight is more even. It's a little bit more people here out here 50-50. So it's like, it's not that impressive as far as and also they don't have similar styles. Vaquero, Brichette throws straight shots. So it was easier for me to slide with those shots and land my shots. So Vaquero, I think his worst defect is his best tool that he has. I don't know if that makes sense because he fights very sloppy, but he's effective. He wins. He throws shots from different angles where it's like, wow, you're opening up for that big shot, but he lands his. He lands those sneaky uppercuts, those overrides, you're not used to those shots. So it's like they don't have similar styles. So styles make fights. So when I hear that it could be similar to Brichette, it's like, I don't know. I don't agree with that one. Only because they have different styles. They're both Mexican fighters. They have warrior hearts, but they don't have the same styles. So I can't expect the same result like it was Brichette. I gotta be focused on just winning round by round, being the smarter brawler, the smarter fighter inside the ring. Not necessarily running, but just being the smarter fighter inside the ring, blocking, landing, staying in, moving my head, having a good head movement, and just being the overall smarter fighter in there. So that's what I'm thinking of. I'm not going in there thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna knock him out like I did to Brichette. I never think like that. I think about round by round, smarter fighter. But if a knockout happens, great. We get to go back home, enjoy our families. But I always visualize myself round by round being the smarter fighter, whatever it is.
Yeah, I've called him a Mexican Stretch Armstrong because I don't understand how long his arms are. Honestly, like he gets a crazy freaking reach. But the thing with Navarrete is it takes him a while to get going, but when he's going, he's freaking going, and his awkward timing too. Like how difficult has that been to kind of mimic that in camp, that timing and the sparrings and all that?
Like I said, every fighter is different. And for every camp is different. So we've been studying him as well, like different shots, trying to be I believe I'm the faster fighter. So in there, just trying to look from different angles. Where is that shot coming from? Maybe blocking or maybe moving. But a lot of times easier said than done. That's the reason why he's a world champion, because we all see those uppercuts. We all see what he throws. But if you're seeing it, why don't you move? Why do you guys into the canvas talk about the fighters that he's faced? So it can't be that easy to just move from those shots. So right now, just we've been very focused on our timing, on our head movements, on our reaction, being the faster fighter inside there. So man, just thinking about that fight gets me excited right now, man. We gotta do whatever we have to do to win this fight.
You win this fight, you become world champion again. It's something that you've been wanting to achieve for a while now, since that Shakur Stevenson fight. Looking at the landscape at 130, though, like I feel like this was the fight at 130 that like a lot of fight fans were like, yeah, like this one's gonna be like a badass fight. Like after this, have you given thought like who else would be interesting to fight at 130, or is it something where you're like, you know what, maybe I might dip my toe at 135 after this?
Oh no. My plans are not go up to 135 yet. I've said this before. I have to at least try one day to 135. I have to test. I don't want to be old one day, have 70, 80 or whatever, and look back in time and say, man, I should have tried at least. I got to at least try. But now is not the time. Now is the time to first win with Emmanuel Navarrete and then look for the other world titles and WBC, the IBF, the WBA. There's a lot of fights that could be happening. There are great fights. So right now, my goal is to dominate the 130 and let it clear. Because when I was a champion at 130, you had for a moment, I was the best. And Shakur goes up to the division, and then they said, who is the best at 130? Now that Shakur's there, so we made that fight happen. And obviously, Shakur was a better fighter than 130. But now that he's out of the picture, I want to let it clear who's the 130 champion. So right now, my goal is to dominate. To try and dominate the 130, and then maybe in the future, I don't know if it's a year or two or whatever time God gives me, try to go 130 and at least try it, because I don't want no regrets in my life later on saying I should have tried, should have done this and that. Who knows? The sky's the limit, and I always wanted to, like I've said this 100 times already. I want to be in that list, that imaginary list that. Every time if you mention the top Mexican fighters right now, you obviously got Chavez, you got Juan Manuel Marquez, Finito Lopez, Travieso Arce, Pepino Cuevas. You got a lot of Mexican names. And my goal in the long run, when I'm retired and everything, I want the new generations to say, who were the great Mexican champions. I know I'm not going to be maybe in the top 10, but if they mention my name to be in that list, it's like, wow, that would be a dream come true for me. You got fighters like Canelo Alvarez, who deserves to be in at least the top 3 in the day, and then make the best Mexican fighter, if not the best, because numbers don't lie. But I want to be in that list. But to be in that list, you got to win this fight with Vaquero, and then you got to win. You got to unify, and you got to do different things that other champions have not done. The reason why Eddie Morales is in that list because of a 4-time division champion, and Travieso Arce is a 5-time, and then you got Chavez, who was 89 and undefeated record, so that's why they're there. But there's been a lot of fighters who are 2-time world champions like me. So if I die today, I didn't do nothing in the sport. So I want to, have some achievements. Win this division, try to unify. The sky's the limit. I dream big. I dream that one day I can be undisputed, and then why not try 130? If you don't try, you never know. So at least if I try, if I win, it's like, wow, we'll see from there. But we'll see what life takes us. But like I said before, I got to at least try. But still, even being smart, being something smart right now, being realistically, the 135 is dangerous, right? You got Gervonta Davis, and you got Devin Haney, and you got Shakur Stevenson, and you got all these Teofimo Lopez. No, Teofimo moved up, but the division of 135 is deadly right now. We don't know who's the best one at 135 right now because there's so many good fighters out there. But and then the next years maybe, if I start feeling that 130 is I can't make it no more, then why not move up to 135? Like I said, try it out.
Yeah, for you to become undisputed, you'd have to collect all the belts. And we got Hector Luis Garcia, the WBA champion, Joe Cordina, the IBF champion. I believe Oshaki Foster as well won the WBC belt from Ray Vargas. So yeah, some good fights there for you at 130 pounds. 135, yeah, you got to give it a try, because I feel like not the standard, but like you said, to be considered like amongst like the great Mexican fighters, you got to reach that threshold of a 3-division world. That's like the benchmark, the 3-division world champions. So I feel you on that. I got to ask you this, Oscar. Did you know that Canelo was fighting Jermell? Did that come to a surprise for you, or you knew?
So Canelo always keeps it very quiet in the gym. It's like maybe, we don't really talk much about obviously our business. We talk about different things. We talk about his horses, our animals. We talk about this lifestyle, that lifestyle. But for some reason, we don't really talk about who is he going to fight or this and that. We talk about his past fights or my past fights. We talk about, but we never really talk about like, hey, who you got next, or And I respect that, because I don't want I don't want maybe the word leaks out and say, oh, this guy the one here who's saying the information or whatever. But it was a surprise for me. I thought it was fighting the other Charlo, but then apparently he didn't want to because having mental problems or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But even though, man, they're dangerous fighters. The Charlo brothers are good fighters, but being completely honest, the way Canelo trains and the way Canelo is so disciplined in the gym and seeing him spar constantly is like, man, I don't see him being beaten. Of course, he lost to Bivol, but Bivol is a different weight class, a different, way bigger fighter. And Canelo was just looking for greatness. So I feel he doesn't get the appreciation of moving up the division. So it's like if I were to go up to 147 and not just get knocked out by Terence Crawford, but compete with Terence Crawford. That's pretty much what Canelo is doing. He's going up other divisions. He's competing. He didn't get dropped. He didn't get he didn't get like brutally beaten. He lost, but he didn't get hurt. And like I said, I put that example in my case. Is like if I were to go up to 147 and fight Terence Crawford, it's like, man, you're gonna get murdered in there. But Canelo does it. So right now it's like him fighting someone who's actually closer to his weight class. It's like, but yeah, I don't see him losing. But Charlos, man, they're tough fighters. They're tough fighters. You can't take those guys lightly at all. So, but it just kind of like bothers me to see those comments as far as, oh, he's making him go up in the division, and then when he fights a bigger weight, oh, he has got to train him down. It's like, but when does he get this credit? When does he get the actual credit that he deserves? Every fighter there in that elite level has done it. Floyd did it. Oscar De La Hoya did it, and they all had those. Manny Pacquiao did it. Where and they don't get as criticized as Canelo's doing right now. So it's like, when does it become fair for this guy? It's not because he's my friend. It's not because he's my teammate. It's because of boxing. I'm a fan of boxing. I wasn't the biggest fan of Floyd Mayweather, but you gotta admit the guy's the best. It doesn't mean you gotta like him or you gotta agree with everything he does, but you certainly have to not appreciate, not the word I'm looking for. You gotta acknowledge what he's doing. Acknowledge the risk that he's taking and the risk and looking for greatness. So it's like when do we applaud what fighters doing what, or when he's actually taking big risks without looking for an excuse, saying, oh, he's getting drained, or he's making him go up in the division, or he's doing this, or his ring is smaller. I feel like they're just looking for an excuse. So it's like, when does it become fair? That's like that's the main thing.
Have you talked to him about that? Is this stuff that you've talked about?
I really don't like to bring it because, like I said, I'm a boxing fan.
Yeah,
boxing fan. I could stay here talking about boxing all day, all night. And Canelo, I feel like he likes more golf than anything else. So we talk about other things. We talk about, like I said, he loves horses. He loves animals. So we talk about animal, horses, lifestyle, and his golfing world and this and that. But
is he gonna get you to golf? I'm sure he's told you to golf.
Nah, man, I'm not really a golfing man. I like I feel like it's too slow for me. I'd rather play something else. Rather play some softball, baseball, or go out for a run, or go out for swimming from one shore to another. So I'm more of an activity guy. And I've heard that golf is very hard. You're so many hours in there, but it's like, nah, not for me. So I rather swim with some of my friends, or go out to the ocean. And we have different hobbies.
Have you seen him since the fight got announced? And if so, what has he said, and what do you expect?
No, we really have, like I said, we really have said much about boxing. We just talk about other
Because
fights.
I know, like, fighters, like when they're in the gym together and be like, hey, you're fighting so and so, and like they're usually like, yeah, I'm gonna kick his ass. Like, I'm gonna.
So the first time it was like the last time that I talked to him, I was still in the impression that we were fighting ball, and I said we because I'm fully into it. Like, man, I want to see that fight, and it's like, because I know he wasn't 100% for that fight without making excuses. I don't want people to think he's making excuses, but I do feel he could be well prepared for that one. But we talk about, I was under the impression that he was gonna fight with Bivol. He never said that he was gonna fight. To me at least, or Charlos. Till I saw in the news. Then the next day I go, hey, you gonna fight Charlos? And he's like, yeah. Like, that's all. He's like, all right, let's go. Do this. Hopefully I'm there commentating or something, because I want to be front row. I gotta be there, man. I can't miss that fight.
Hey, let's get your pick on it, bro. Let's get your pick. What happens? I know you feel that Canelo will win, but
man.
what kind of fight do we see?
Knockout, because of the styles, because they both going forward. Charlo's not running, and I know Canelo could take a shot. I know I've seen we all saw when he got hit with that big shot with Golovkin. He literally said no. And he said it, he said that Golovkin could hit, but Canelo's just a strong built fighter. So if those two are going toe to toe, I see a knockout by Canelo. Not to be, because I feel like sometimes it becomes more of a race thing, like African Americans want to go get Mexicans. No, that's not the case. It's not the case, because it can never be like that. I hate when they mix boxing with race.
Mm-hmm.
Make it like, oh, you hate this. No, it's because I see it. I see it in the gym. I see how hard he works, and adding that he's my friend, adding the word stablemates and everything. But I see it in the gym. I see how hard he works, and I see the discipline. He's a perfect example to all fighters out there. He's winning millions. You don't have to do this. And he's back in the gym the next day training. It's unbelievable. I don't know if I would do it. I'm winning those millions, man. I'll have a personal zoo, just like you said. I'll be enjoying my animals and my family and doing other things. But that just shows how disciplined this guy is. You gotta admire something like that.
Over under, Oscar. Over under 10 rounds, 9 rounds, 11 rounds, 12 rounds. Under what?
If I'm a betting man, I'll put under. Yeah.
Under what?
Under 10.
Under 10. Ooh, wow. Body shot knockout, one punch knockout, TKO. We got to get the inside betting tips.
I don't if I'm going like more details of what I think is, like, I don't see Charlo just like boom getting hit, and I feel Charlo not giving up, being a stronger fighter, and maybe a TKO sounds more reasonable, sounds more believable to me. And because Canelo, after certain rounds, kind of slows down a little bit, and I know after a while he just plays it safe with that defense. But I do see him. It's just because I've seen him spar heavyweights. He drops heavyweights, so that's something crazy to see. That how somebody so small, well, he's bigger than me, but he's just proportional from his weight class. He's just a small guy. And how strong he is to knock out his opponents, heavyweights. It's like I don't see nobody beating him anytime soon.
He's dropped heavyweights?
Well, I've seen it.
It's not Frank Sanchez, is it?
No. I've seen him spar Frank Sanchez.
Yeah, no, I've seen that clip too.
But no, that's just a clip, man.
That's just a clip.
Whole thing, you can ask Frank Sanchez. You don't let a shot. Oh, he actually landed one shot. That's what I'm saying. Canelo could take a punch. Canelo could definitely take a punch. But I've seen that sparring he's actually sparred him. I've seen him twice already spar him. And it's crazy. You see this beast, Frank Sanchez, throwing those shots, and Canelo's moving like nothing, landing his shots. No, but he dropped another heavyweight.
Wow.
This wasn't Frank's hand.
Damn. Jeez. With that being said, man, I got to just get your insight on something, because you fought on the co-main for the Lomachenko Devin Haney fight. That's a fight that ended in controversy. But I did want to get your take. Shakur's wanting to fight Lomachenko. You fought Shakur. And given what Lomachenko showed in that fight with Haney, would you favor Loma or Shakur in that fight if they were to fight?
I don't know. It's a tough one, man. That's definitely a tough one. I'm in a different position right there, because it will be just kind of the same as I predicted Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. Because sometimes I see Devin Haney, before the fight happened, I would say, wow, Devin Haney is a younger fighter. He's long. He's an actual 135 who's actually 140. I can see him winning, landing those shots and being outboxing him, this and that. And then I would think, man, Lomachenko's a master of this. Of the sport. He's been doing this and that, 2-time Olympian. I've seen him. He's never really looked like he's gotten hurt. So it's like, man, I think Loma could take him. And then I go back and forth thinking I can see him both ways. So that just showed me, I just kept on saying, if I'm a betting man, it's a stay away bet for me, because I don't know what's going to happen. And sure enough, good thing I didn't bet, because if I would have bet it from either way, either sides, either I would have been scared or I would have been pissed. because you know what I'm saying? Because
there were a lot of people pissed that night. Yeah, that's for sure.
Either way, I would have been scared because like oh man, we lost our bet, or if I won my bet, then they took the bet away. It's like, oh man, I would have been extremely mad. So I think my prediction was a good prediction as far as stay away from those bets, and I think that would be the case for someone like Shakur Stevenson and Lomachenko. But after being in the ring with someone like Shakur Stevenson, it's like I would never bet against him. Like I would never bet like, oh, he's gonna beat Shakur, unless Shakur is like 40 or something. But but I don't. It's just being in the ring with them was an eye opener as far as like you're used to hitting your opponents, and I've always felt like I've had that distance where I got that my opponent at least I land my jab. I might miss my right hand, but then I land my hook. Then I might miss another one, but I land another one. And it's like I've always felt like I've had that. And when I was in the ring with Shakur, it's just that it was right in your face. It was right in my face. And it's like I throw that shot, and it's not like he's running. He's right in front of you. Just you miss by a little bit like this. So I think he's got a high ring IQ. He's got a great defense. He's got speed. He's got everything. He's he's a complete fighter. The only thing I could say is that maybe I think there's no punch with the shots, but I only believe because he doesn't try to. He doesn't need to, because he's just almost like he's he's almost like he's trying to provoke you to come in. He puts your face and you don't hit him, and I feel he doesn't need to land that big shot. He doesn't try. That's what I'm saying. So that's the only reason why I would stay away bet if he were to ever face Lomachenko.
Yeah, I don't bet in fights anymore because the judges always mess up these bets. You never know what fight they're gonna see. It sucks. Like it's like, what's the point? You could have it all right, all the info, and then the judges end up screwing it up. But hey, Oscar, man, it was great chatting with you. Great checking in with you. Your fight coming up August 12th in Arizona. On an ending note, bro, just let the fans know what's up with this fight and any last messages you want to say over to them.
Like I've said it before, man, I just want to thank everybody who's been riding with me, who's been sticking, just being a fan in general. Like I said before, 2001 was a big year for me, and then it was the worst year for me, and ups and downs. And I feel like a lot of people showed their true colors, when the whole situation happened, and my horrible fight that I had the next time, and it was like, and then losing to Shakur. So, a lot of people showed their true colors, even people who I consider my friends. So people who've been with me, man, I thank each and every one of you who've been rocking with me, every fan, every team Valdez, every fighter, every fan out there. Thank you. The reason why I fight this way is because I was inspired by Eric Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera, and me fighting right now, I want to inspire the new generation the same way they inspired me. So just always know that every time I'm in the ring, I'm giving it my 100%, fighting with my heart out. I'm doing this fight to obviously for me, for my family, to put foot on the table. But a big part of what I'm doing is to give the fans what they want and to inspire the new generation the same way Eric Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera inspired me. So, I'll do my best to put up a good fight, with Vaquero Navarrete, two Mexican fighters who are going to go toe-to-toe to prove who's the best at 130. And thank you for everybody, expect a good fight and hope to see you guys there.
That was Oscar Valdez. He fights coming up, like I mentioned, August 12th in Arizona. Oscar's always good seeing you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Marcos. Have a good one.
That was Oscar Valdez. You got to love Oscar, man. Such a cool cat. Always enjoyed watching him. One thing is he gives 110% in these fights. And this fight with Emmanuel Navarrete, he's the favorite. I think if you look at the last fight that Navarrete had against the Australian fighter, Liam Wilson, and seeing that Liam Wilson almost beat him, almost put him out, almost knocked him out, I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. You got to think of a guy like that, who Valdez is much more experienced, I think much more well put together of a fighter. You would think he has to be the favorite and potentially could get a knockout because of how wide and loopy of a puncher Navarrete is. And the thing with Navarrete is, as he's moved up the divisions, he's not getting these devastating knockouts like he used to get, or not looking as dominant in these knockouts. Let me rephrase that. He's gotten the knockouts. He hasn't looked as dominant as he did in the lower weight divisions, because obviously these guys are bigger, they can take bigger punches. But yeah, you gotta feel and think that Oscar Valdez is the favorite in this fight. That Navarrete is going to take a while to get warmed up, to get the engines revving, and that when he throws these wide loopy punches, you got to think Oscar is going to be in the pocket looking to counter. Now, on the flip side, you would think Navarrete is preparing for this, potentially probably working speed and knowing that Valdez is going to try to cut the distance off, so that he can't land those like long, loopy, awkward punches of Navarrete. But man, I'm going to be there for that fight. I can't wait for that fight because I know like how explosive of a fight that can be. But the only bummer, it's on the same day as the Joshua versus Dillian White fight, the rematch. And yeah, I know like time difference wise, they won't overlap or anything like that. But man, I haven't been to a fight in England yet. I want to cover a fight in England, man. I was hoping that would be my fight in England. I'm hoping potentially maybe I can go to the Usyk Dubois fight in Poland. I've never been to Poland, or some sort of fight over there in England. So we'll see. Hopefully, got my fingers crossed that comes to me at some point. Shoot. With that said, man, next guest, Nonito Donaire, boxing's ageless one. I love Nonito. Nonito, bro. A pleasure to watch this guy fight. It's been a pleasure to cover his career up at this point. And I'll tell you something. And I would think Nonito would agree with this. He's not at his peak anymore, but he's still pretty damn good, and still able to compete with the elite in boxing. But in this dude's peak, I'll tell you, still to this day, I have not seen a fighter who was faster on the mitts than Nonito Donaire. The other guy I would say would be Gary Russell, but even then, I feel Nonito Donaire was a more snappier puncher. And I remember this dawned on me. There was an event that Nonito did with UFC fighter Mark Munoz. And Mark Munoz's gym in Lake Forest. Yes, Lake Forest. And it was a co-media workout between Mark Munoz and Nonito Donaire. And a lot of people came out. And Mark worked out on the mitts for a little bit, kicked the pads, and then Nonito came out. And I remember I saw Nonito fire off like an 8-punch combination. And still to this day, I haven't seen anyone fire off that many punches in a short amount of time as crisp, sharp, snappy as Nonito. And I remember when I saw that, I was like, what the F? Like, how is this guy so fast and snappy? Still to this day, man, I've seen Manny in camp. I've seen so many others, and I'm telling you, for me, Nonito is still the fastest fighter on the mitts that I've ever seen in like the last 10, 12 years of I've been covering the sport 15 years now. But yeah, in the whole entirety of that, there hasn't been a guy that I've seen that quick like he was during that workout. But with that being said, let's go ahead and bring in Nonito Donaire. He fights next weekend, July 29th, on this Spence versus Crawford card, looking to break his record to being oldest world champion in this weight division. I believe at 118 pounds. He broke the record once before at 38. Now he's looking to break the record at age 40. Let's go ahead and go to Nonito Donaire. Let's bring him in. You had your camp over there?
Yeah, in the Philippines. I was there for about 2.5 months. 2.5 months. Yeah.
Why did you decide to have the camp over there in the Philippines?
Well, a lot of the guys that I work here, like Angelo Leo, they're a little bit taller, and I wanted a guy that was a little bit shorter. So we were kind of inquiring in the Philippines because back in the days, I used to train out there. And so this time we were inquiring and they said, we got a couple guys that are that height, which was Santiago's height. And so we decided to go out there.
Oh, okay. Interesting, huh? Because, yeah, you always have done your camps here in the States, either in Vegas or in the Bay Area. That must have been a big change, right?
I mean, way back, I used to go out there and train. I had a lot of sparring out there. So to do it again after after a lot of years, it was different. It was very, very different. But the gym that I was training out there, Omega Boxing Gym, they were really cool. So it was very convenient because at the same time when we get done with the training in the weekends, the beach was right there. So I brought the kids with me, so it was fun. So I definitely will probably do it again.
How's the sparring over there compared to here? Like the level, the quality, the intensity of the sparring that you get?
I had some great sparring, actually. I had a few top contender guys out there from the Philippines. And those guys were very, very tough. And the similarities between the Filipinos and the Mexican fighters, they like to fight. I mean, aside from like me and Pacquiao, who likes to box and move around, a lot of the fighters in the Philippines, they like to brawl. So we had a lot of guys who was brawling and coming in and all of that stuff. So no, it was good for the guy I'm fighting, with Santiago.
Yeah, so you're fighting on this Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford card. You were supposed to fight over the weekend on this Frank Martin card. You got switched because I believe one of the people that were on this Spence Crawford card got injured. They slot you in. Now you're poised, if you win, to become the oldest champion again in your division, breaking your own record. I like to call you as boxing's ageless wonder. One of them is Bernard, and then it's you, Nonito Donaire. Nonito, man, how's this process been like for you? 1 week now, going into this fight.
We were very ready for the last card, which was yesterday on Saturday, last Saturday, and we cut the weight and everything else, and we were right there, and then we get a call, and I mean, who wouldn't get to choose this? Who wouldn't choose this opportunity with a big event? One of the biggest fighters, the two biggest fighters, the fights that we all want to see, and so giving that time, I mean, I had to kind of slow down last week, and then this week we go all out again to get that peak as we did before the last schedule or the previous schedule. So this week we're going all out. So next on the fight week, we're ready to go. The mentality was just a little bit of the shift. We wanted to calm down a little bit, but it was very, very difficult for me to get out of that because I was already mentally prepared, ready and geared. My body was already geared to go all out. So I just needed to adjust a little bit, by keeping myself out of boxing for a couple of days, now coming back again and going all out this week. So the mentality now again is back to that peak where we're ready to go.
The last fight you had was the Inoue fight, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's been quite some time since you've been in the ring. Did you just wanted to relax, take some time off, let yourself heal, or was there more to that?
I mean, all of it. It was just more of, for me. It was a tough thing to happen, but it wasn't a tough fight because it happened so fast. So there wasn't really much damage. It was more of like, if the opportunity comes, we want to come in and fight. We were trying to see if there was an opportunity in the 115 to get a title out there, or there was another one in the 118. So we were kind of waiting for the vacancy of the belt until we went to all the conventions, for the belt conventions and stuff like that, and wanted to see where I can place myself and where I'm going to fight. So we were just kind of waiting to see a good schedule, whether it will be as soon as possible or whenever it opens up. So when I was scheduled to fight Maloney early this year, that didn't happen because he moved on to the next to another sanctioning. And so they were trying to get to see who is the next person in line. And when that happened, they were scheduling the fight, So it was just more of like, I wasn't trying to get the date or to get the date to be a little bit longer. It was just more of like, it just happened that way, and it was good because I did get time to heal up. I did get time to mentally be prepared, and here I am.
Yeah, man. What would you say is the biggest plus side? Because looking at the date of the Inoue fight to now, it's been I want to say close to a year since you fought. If not, I think like a year and a month. What do you feel is like the biggest positive you took from that time off?
I mean, it has to be the healing. It has to be the healing because when I fought Inoue the first time, and then the following fight was almost 2 years. So me at this stage, the longer for me, even a year is like perfect for me to rest and fight, because my body does get the time to heal itself, and I come back even stronger. So the plus side for it is really the healing, that's been done in my body, and the mindset as well to get in the ring mentally prepared.
What nagging injuries did you have?
I mean, it's not so much injuries. I mean, I like every fight, like any fighter really, there's always something that's not right. There's always something that this and this and that needs to happen, or needs to be a little bit of healing, or mentally I'm not prepared, something like that, but to be able to extend, I mean, ultimately, even though we don't see any injury, there is that possibility that your body still needs healing. The mind needs healing, the brain needs healing, because sometimes things that you don't see are deep within your body that time can only heal. And so for me, I feel great, I feel good, and ultimately, I know for a certain fact that my body was healing, even though nothing was visible in terms of injuries and stuff like that. I mean, that's just how I feel. I feel really good about it.
Yeah. So coming into this fight, man, how do you feel? How do you like your chances to becoming a world champion again? What do you make of all that?
I mean, I've always been confident. I've always been confident, and sometimes people go out there very, very overconfident, confident. With me, I'm very, very confident in my capabilities and what I can do. I know the guy that I'm fighting, like just any other Mexican out there, they are very tough guys, like a Cesar Juarez kind of guys who will go out there and press and make the fight difficult for everybody. So we're very prepared for him, for any kind of style that he comes into that ring. For me, it's just my mindset is just one thing that I know will carry me to victory in this fight. Not given that the physical is always going to be at 100%.
Okay.
Always give it all.
How have you been able to kind of like pause time so that you've been able to compete at this high level, and like what differences or like adjustments have you have to make to kind of, you know, go along with, you know, the age that you're at right now?
I think it's just the beginning is the mentality, right? The more that you feel, you become. So I feel like I feel very young. I feel very youthful. My body feels youthful because I do a lot of things that are great for it. You know, I'm very, very disciplined in what I eat, what I do, and again, what I think as well. So all of that is what's carrying me in all of my performance, because I do feel very youthful. I do feel in my body that I still have all the strength, all the speed, and I'm still capable of beating anybody out there. So, you know, again, that mindset in itself is what's carrying me to become who I am, because the moment that I doubt myself is the moment that I'll stumble and fall. You know, with me right now, I am just a pillar that's just very strong and grounded, and because of the mindset that I impose upon myself, and because of the discipline that I carry myself in my daily life.
How do you recover through all those workouts, the sparring and all that? Like, how's that aspect? Because I know as we get older, it takes longer for us to recover. We feel more sore after the workouts, not as much energy. Like, how do you deal with all that?
I think the very key is a constant pressure on your body, meaning that you got to constantly train. Because if you start from zero, it's going to be very difficult to get back. You know, especially when you're already at an age where your body tends to push and pull on you. But to maintain being in the gym, being ready, so when you do go all out in training camp, it's like nothing. It's like a daily thing for me. So and the beauty about this era is we have so much technology for healing. You know, you get the cryo, you get the cold plunge, the hot plunge, and all this other stuff. I mean, there's so many things out there that enables us to heal, you know, not just supplements, you know, not just all of that stuff, but you get the mindset, the life coaches, just anything and everything that you do from the mind, body, and spirit, and mind, you know, and or soul. You get all of that in this era of and our technology to be able to prolong your career, at least my career.
So given that, Nonito, how I guess, you know, do you fight for 5 more years? Do you fight for 6 more years, 3 more years? Like, what's how do you feel?
Well, however I feel in when I wake up in the morning. So if I do feel that I'm done with it, you know, like for me, I get up in the morning and I'm excited to train. I get up in the morning and I'm running and I feel good. You know, I'm meditating while I'm running. So that it's just part of my routine. When I wake up in the morning, I'm running here or I'm sprinting here, and it's like a meditation for me. And then I go to the gym and I'm eager to give it all I got. And each day that I feel that way it's however long that thing can be, you know, is gonna keep me going, you know. And I told Bernard, I said, you know what, I'm beating your record, you know that. So
wait,
you know,
wait. He was like
50
something, right? No way.
Hey, whatever it takes, man, whatever it takes. Like
10 more years,
you know,
bro? Really?
why
10
not?
years?
Why not? You know, people are like, man, you should be done. Hey, listen, boxing, I know for sure that you can't do it for the rest of your life. Now, if I can still do it and I still am capable and I still enjoy it, why not? You know, I don't want to be 10, 20 years from now, I'm like, man, I still got a couple more years, but I called it quits because everybody told me to. You know, I don't want to be that guy.
Was there a moment in your career where people did tell you, like, yo, like, I think this
they
is
keep
it?
still telling me.
Oh, they keep still telling you.
Oh, they keep telling me, man, you're done, bro. You know, you still got the skills, but we love you, man. We don't like seeing you lose. We don't want to see that, man. We love you, bro. You know, we support you and blah, 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 you know, and I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. But, you know, again, sometimes in every person, in every man, there's that pride. But at the same time, there is that joy that you get from what you do, and that you might not be able to do in other things, you know. And sometimes they try to tell you that you can replace this feeling with another thing, you know, this rush with another thing, with this, the challenge with another thing, you know. But this is what I love to do, and I don't really want to replace that until I'm ready to go. and the moment that will be, you won't see me do any exhibition.
No. So would you say that this fight, because on one end you're still able to compete at a high level, and you're competing with the elite, with the world champions or the top 5 in your sport. If you look bad in this fight or you don't win, like, does it make you kind of sit back and think like, oh, okay, maybe this is I should think about this now?
Well, the funny thing is, as much as I'm all saying this, in that last fight, I had an agreement, and when I have an agreement, it means that I will follow through with it. And so after the fight, I actually got everybody.
This is the Inoue fight, right?
Yeah,
this was in Japan.
Yeah, and we sat down, and I told my guys, I'm done, guys. I think we're done, And then and then Rach, me and her, my wife, me and her, we talked in the corner all by ourselves, and she said, I'm not disappointed. I'm not angry. I'm not anything, I'm just here, but I don't want to see that ever happening again. And if you want to continue to do this, you have to show me that you are capable, and I don't ever want that to happen again. And so ultimately we came to the decision that when she says I'm done, I'm pretty much done. And I'm not contesting that, because that's the agreement that I have with her, is that she has the key to pull me at any moment in time that she thinks that I'm not doing good enough or well enough or competing with these guys, because after the fact that I said I was done, a couple hours after that, I said, you know what, I know I still got it. So give me that opportunity. And that's when we had that conversation about that she has the right to whether I can continue boxing or not.
And what if you change your mind?
What was that?
Say, what if you change your mind? What if you get in a similar situation where they're like, yeah, that's it, and you're like,
well, if that ever happens, that's pretty much done. That's pretty much done. I mean,
well, that's it. Like, that's final.
We are not here to be second. We are not here. I am never here to be second. And so when I go and fight, and I'm not showing up in this fight or any other fight, that's pretty much what it all comes down to. I mean, I don't need any more accolades. I know I've done enough for boxing. This is just for my selfish reason.
What is that? Just to prove to yourself that you can?
Nah, there's nothing to prove. It's just fun for me. This is my joy. I wake up in the morning, I'm disciplined. I wake up in the morning, it gives me purpose. And so if ever to a point that it's not this, then I got to find a purpose. And for me, I already know the next purpose for me is to help out, train, and all this other stuff. But right now, I feel that I can keep going for a very, very long time.
Yeah, looking back at that fight, what do you think made the difference between the first fight where you broke his eyeball and you guys go as long as you do, and then the second time around? What do you feel happened there?
I think I know exactly what happened there, and this is why if it was a point where I gave it all I got, and that happened, then I would have probably been done. But I felt that a lot of things in my corner wasn't set. The person, my dad couldn't make it to do the mitts and stuff like that. There was no mitt guy that was able to warm me up the way I do. I had somebody who was supposed to come in, but at the end of the day, when he was supposed to be there, they didn't allow him to go in, and there was nobody who really done it to warm me up, and that's why I was kind of cold. And when you're cold in the early rounds, that's when everybody's so strong, and that's what happened. I got caught with it, because usually I'll see those punches coming at me, but unfortunately at that time, I wasn't warm enough to be very, very I was struggling with myself, I guess, is the key. But I'm not gonna take anything away from the champ. He can crack, and that's what happened. He caught me good, and I went down. That's just pretty much how it went, and that's how it's always gonna be remembered.
That's interesting, man. That you bring that up. Yeah, I always was just kind of wondering. I'm like, man, like what did Inoue improve that much? Like over the course of just one fight, or was something up with Nonito? Like, I would imagine a lot of people, you probably heard this, like, oh, maybe that should be it. And you touched on that, but I was always kind of just like, what the heck happened there? Like, it seems like just such a big jump on his end to go life and death with you and get his eyeball cracked to the result that he got in that second fight.
Right. And things like that happens. And that's how, that was my mistake, because I relied a lot on a person that never showed up, and that was my biggest mistake. And now I made sure that we had somebody that was going to be there, because Rach is incredible when it comes down to being in the corner and going with our game plan. She's very incredible when it comes down to that. But one thing that she is limited is she can't hold the mitts. And so I need a mitt guy to really warm me up to get that fire. There's a switch. When people go in there, before they go into the ring, they feel that switch. And that's something that I always want, is when I'm going there, I'm cracking that mitts, and then boom, when that switch comes in, I'm like, okay, I'm good. And I'm just sitting there stretching.
So that prompts me to ask, then you said your mitt guy was your dad, right? Is your dad back in the fold helping you?
No, we totally went our separate ways. I'm not relying on my dad any longer to be there, whether he's going to show up or not. That's something that I'm not going to wait and see whether it is. So that is no longer a thing. I actually got a guy now. His name is Doc J. His name's Julius, and he's incredible. I met him in the Philippines at the gym, and he was just helping out with me in the mitts and stuff like that. And it just has that little reminder of how my dad works and stuff like that. And so we ended up working together. We came in here. He went into he went with me in the training camp. We brought him out here, and now he's here and part of the team. So everything that was falling apart in the last fight is here, and there is no other excuses now.
Yeah, you've always had would it be the right way to say, like, contentious relationship in terms of like work with your dad in terms of the boxing stuff?
I think it's just how it is sometimes, and you see it a lot with father and son. And sometimes it can be overbearing. And for me, I've always stood my ground, and sometimes that might not be good for them, where they might show up or not. You know what I mean? So I made it to a point that, you know what, I'm going to take the stands, and I'm not going to rely on anyone but the people that I hire, and they're going to show up, and they're going to be there, and there's nothing else that's going to fall apart unless something crazy happens or accident shit happens. So,
So it was a lot of butting heads between you and your pops?
I mean, it's just from the very beginning. Me and my pop's always been in that way, because, for me, I go in there and I'm a thinking fighter. So if things happen, I want to do it this way, but he wanted to do it this way. And sometimes that might not work, So now I don't have to worry about that, because now it's this way. And we all agree, my team agree, we sit down, we put this game plan together, and we all agree, there is this camaraderie that we're here, not just, oh, I want to show up when I want to show up, oh, I'm going to be there in the fight, and, stuff like that. So I know for certain that these people are going to be there for me. And unfortunately, sometimes things can happen that way, but, as a person, and what I've learned in the last fight, I had to really not rely on anything but the people that are there for me, from the business standpoint and training standpoint and boxing standpoint.
Okay, so from what you're telling me, I and I could be wrong, but it seems to be like a situation where he wants you to do things a certain way, and you're like, no, I want to do them this way, and then you guys kind of have a little bit of friction.
I mean, I guess, I've been boxing professionally for 23 years, not including the amateurs, so there's always that thing, back in the days, I've always done everything and anything that he had told me to do. And until being in the ring, in the professional arena, I had to adjust things. And sometimes I got to do it this way. I got to do it that way. And sometimes it may not work for him because he wanted it this way, stuff like that. It's just a whole thing that's been running throughout, just like family, sometimes you talk to your dad or your brother or this and this and that, and there's always that friction. And sometimes you get into a bigger stage when the stage are bigger.
Mm. Tim Bradley had did an interview about his opinion on like dads being trainers, and he felt like it shouldn't be allowed at all. Like we see some that are successful, some that are not, and more recently we've seen a lot more successful duos like Danny and Angel, Teo and his dad, but you know they kind of butt heads as well. Just overall, what do you make of that? Like if someone were to come in with their dad, would you advise them towards that or against that? Like what are your thoughts on
I
that?
think it's a great dynamic when you have the father and the son working together. And one thing that I know that is working is the Vargas kids and Fernando. You know, those are things, because Fernando's very respectful to his kids and his kids love him too. You know, see, if that type of energy is coming into the ring, you know, that is in itself, because there's nobody that knows you more than anybody else than your father. You know, everything that you are, when you're hurt, without you know showing, your dad knows that. Because I know when my son, when he is not telling me the truth, or when he's hurt and stuff like that, I know, you know. And so when a man can respect his son, that's when a true connection and a great team evolves into something even greater. You know, I think fathers are great when they can respect their kids to allow them to grow and allow them to be, and just give guidance and coaching, you know. And if they take it or not, that's up to them, you know. But be that father where, you know what, let your son fall. If he's not listening, let your son fall, but just be there. You know, don't be overbearing and stuff like that. And it's very difficult too at the same time with the father, because you don't want your son to get hurt. And that's where you got to find that dynamic to be right there in the middle, where you can be a father and a trainer at the same time. But I think father and son is a great dynamic that surpasses a great trainer.
Yeah, no, nothing could replace that bond, that's for sure. But yeah, there is a whole set of complications that can come with that dynamic, just given a father-son relationship. Sometimes there's a trigger that we all have as kids, as sons, that when our parents talk to us in a certain tone, it just irritates the hell out of us or annoys us, and it flips the switch where you're like, no, I'm not gonna do that, even though you should, or you know, you're like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I know on that case, with that situation. Hey, Nonito, Inoue's having this fight with Fulton, man. Real curious, because you spent now 2 fights fighting Inoue, preparing for Inoue. How do you see that fight, giving your insight with him?
I mean, I don't know Fulton's strategy going into the fight. You know, if he imposes his weight and stuff and presses on him, I think that he's gonna do well enough to deter and smother Inoue's power. That's all he needs to do, is smother him. But if he's boxing and this and that, you know, which can be good too, because he is taller, then, you know, both ways can work for him. And, you know, he's coming in there with great confidence. With Inoue, he's coming in there with great confidence as well, and he's confident in his power. And whether he can carry that power, which I believe that he can. But again, the guys are going to be fighting him is going to be tougher and bigger. So that's something that he has to change on himself. But I think the fight is a great fight. I think Inoue has a great chance of winning, and as well as Fulton, you know, being you know, winning this fight as well. And again, smothering and just bullying the smaller guy. I think that can happen if they have chosen that. But Wahid is you know, he's a very smart guy too. You know, he's probably gonna box and move and all that stuff. But whatever fight that Fulton is gonna do, he can do both ways. And I think that both he has to do it good enough to be able to be dominating. And fighting in Japan is you know, that's another challenge for him. But he has to go out there and be dominating.
Yeah, Jaron Ennis did an interview where he says, don't be surprised if Stephen stops Inoue. Me just thinking of the fight, I thought, hey, you know, all Stephen has to do is just move around and box. But then again, you know, how is the power of Inoue gonna be coming up? And also, has Fulton felt that type of power? It seems from what we've seen that Inoue has a different type of power. That's a special type of power.
Inoue has a power. His power is at a distance. You take away that distance, his power is taken away. But that's why he has that body shot, so that if people come in a little closer to him, his power is not going to be as strong, because all he has is right. Is that right? Is his money punch, but on the left is his body punch. So that's why he has to kind of protect himself in that way. But smothering him by pushing him, closing in on him, will take away all those power. But at the same time, boxing him where he can't hop in, because he's heavy footed. He's quick, but he's heavy footed, and going around him is also another way to beat him. But it's easier said than done. Obviously Inoue is a champion for a reason, and because he has that power, he can also move as well. So I mean, there's a lot of things that you can see or say is a key to winning, but the fighter can also be a variable where he can change up that style.
Yeah, the one time that we saw Fulton fight like up close was against Brandon Figueroa.
But Brandon didn't give him an opportunity. That's why Brandon just kept pressing him. He didn't chose to do it. Well, actually, he did with Leo. With Angelo Leo, he kind of pressed a little bit forward. Instead of boxing. I mean, again, there's a lot of ways for him to make it difficult for Inoue, but at the same time, Inoue can also do the same thing. He's a champion for a reason in this division, and now he's moving up, and Fulton is a champion for a reason in that division as well. So this is why they're making this fight. I think it's a great fight.
If I were pressed to push you to pick a winner, or who you're favoring or siding with, just based on what they are as fighters on paper, who would you pick?
I would go very slightly. I would go with Fulton, because Fulton is he has a lot of pride, and this is the biggest fight for him. Not looking that it's in Japan. Just between them two, because he wants to prove this. This is a name that he wants on his record, and as much as a champion, no one really kind of want kind of give him love. He does, he deserved all those love, but no one's giving him that. And I think that this is one of those fights that's just firing him up. But I mean, again, Inoue is there. He's gonna do what he's gonna do. And he's a tremendous fighter. I mean, you got to give the biggest respect to Inoue, but at the same time, Fulton is also coming in here very hungry.
Wow. Yeah, that would be, I wouldn't say an upset, because I've heard a lot of people say like, no, Inoue has never fought a guy as technically sound as a Stephen Fulton.
Right. And that's the thing was, with my fight, I lack discipline. The older that I got, I lack discipline. I just kind of just went out and just did whatever I needed to do. And that's why for me, I'm coming back into becoming more disciplined, but that's the thing, is that when you make a mistake with Inoue, like I did, he'll crack you. And when you get cracked with those, it's done, So with Fulton being very disciplined, and he has to be disciplined, and I think that, the jab in itself, the pressing the hands up, the high guard if he needs to, whatever it is that he needs to, step back, lateral movement, he has to be disciplined to win this fight.
How would you describe Inoue's power? Like, how does it feel to get hit by Inoue?
Inoue's power is more of a heavy, but at the same time, it's kind of like mine, I guess. But people say when they get hit with me, it's like being shocked.
Yeah.
They just get shocked. With Inoue, he has more of a heavy hand than the shocking factor that I do.
So it's like every punch is like a heavy punch.
It's like a heavy punch. Not all the punch, but his biggest punch, like straight, is a heavy, fast punch. Reminds me of, I guess, kind of like the Chinyan, but faster, because they're heavy. And when you get hit with those, it just takes you. You know, yeah, his speed. He has a heavy hand, but his speed along with it makes it very devastating.
Yeah, it's crazy that you bring up Vic because I was thinking about that. Like, oh, I wonder if he Nonito feels that Vic was still like potentially like the snappiest, most explosive, like one punch fighter, or like was it Inoue?
Yeah, Inoue definitely has the kind of like a big style, but a lot faster and heavier shot. You know, so but he can crack, that's for sure. And Fulton can't be complacent when it comes down to that, and as well as Inoue can't be complacent just because he has that power.
How's I call your left foot your left hook the Old Faithful. How's Old Faithful this time around for this fight?
Oh man, I think just it has evolved. It has evolved into different string of direction. You know, not just that direction of a hook, but different direction that goes along. But yeah, that left hook is definitely a very devastating one.
Oh yeah, man. It's time and time again, man, that left hook has put opponents on their butts and been a game changer for you in these fights. You know, looking at this last portion of your career, Nonito, obviously goal is to be world champion. If you are successful over this opponent, you will break your own record. But is there anything else, any other goal that you have in mind that you want to achieve at this point?
Well, for me, it's just becoming the undisputed champion. That's it. Becoming the undisputed champion, and then coming down to maybe 115, get the title there to be legitimate, to be 5 times. You know, so that's the goal.
Man, that's just given the belt situation. You know, to be undisputed would take some time. I know in the past you have said like, hey, you would like a fight with Roman Gonzalez, Gallo Estrada potentially as well. But 115, man, cutting at that weight at this age, like that's kind of tough, no?
That's the thing, was people never really understood that I've always been a small guy. You know, I'm tall, but my bone structures are so small. I've always been skinny. I mean, I started professional at 105, you know, but then nobody wanted to fight me. There was nobody to fight. So I moved up in weight, 112, 115, 118 to 122. And I dropped back down for the Darchinyan fight, you know, but I've always been a smaller guy, you know, so with me, I don't really have any problem making the weight. Even here, 118, I don't have a problem at all. I mean, all the weigh-ins, the last time I weighed, I was about 117, 116. You know, I had to drink some water to get to 117. So 115 wouldn't be a big problem for me.
Then why are you messing about at this weight then? Just go down to 115, get that fight, bro. Well, that's a huge fight.
That's the thing is, you know, there's an opportunity here right now, you know, and the opportunity is the belts are taken slowly. Now I'm coming in, taking this belt and then taking the other belts, you know, and trying to have a conversation with Inoue's brother. You know, why not? Let's make it happen.
Oh man, that'd be, you know, obviously you already know you're like a first ballot Hall of Famer, just given the achievements, the accomplishments that you've had. But yeah, man, what an icing on the cake if you're able to achieve those two things. But yeah, as a fight fan, I want to see you and Gallo, you and Roman. Those are tremendous fights.
Really fun.
Yeah, tremendous fights, man. Oh my God. You know, I would like it even more than this division that you're trying to be undisputed in, as well. Given that, you know, you're fighting on this Spence Crawford card, you always give great insight, Nonito. Break that fight down, man. A lot of people said it's 50-50, and a lot of people are going back and forth between how one is going to separate themselves in that fight.
The thing about it is 50-50 because they're good at what they do, right? But in that 50-50 can shift whoever imposes their style, you know. The thing about it is Spence has this tremendous style which is very simple. It's very basic, but he masters this basic style. You know, keeping the hands up, coming in there with throwing the jab to set up that straight, coming in with the body shot, even the left hook. Those guys are very, very difficult to fight because they're right down the middle, you know, and coming in right down the middle, it is faster than anybody coming around, you know. So Crawford needs to learn how to counter those shots or go around those shots. Crawford is very versatile. That's something that's very different because he can be a right hand. He can make it difficult. Then he switch up to the left. It can make it very difficult. He goes up. He goes down. He goes all of that. He has that variety where he has all the weapons, right? But Spence at the same time has one weapon, but it's a devastating weapon. He's like he mastered this weapon. So this is why a lot of people are looking at it 50-50 because of the fact that these guys are good at what they do, and when they do it well. Now, if one can take away that weapon from them, then that person wins the fight.
Yeah, it's so many like ways I could see the fight happening, but it's like the last week I've heard a lot. Terrence hasn't fought anybody with the power of Spence. How is Terrence gonna deal with the pressure, the power, and the output of Spence? And just me, from my experience covering the sport, usually guys that are great counterpunchers are very good defensively, even though Crawford does get caught with punches, are able almost 9 times out of 10, whatever output their opponent has, they're able to half it right away because of their counterpunching.
Well, the thing about it is Crawford is very talented. It's different than somebody who has one style. So you can pressure somebody who has one style and you can pressure them well. But if somebody who has two styles, can go this way and that way, it's very hard to trap those guys, and they're going to go out there and it's going to be a matador in the bull. That's just pretty much how this fight's going to be.
If I were to give you $1,000, Nonito, and I've been asking this to everybody, I give you a G, and I'm like, yo, you gotta pick one or the other. You gotta bet on them. Who would you bet on?
I think both guys has the capability of winning the fight, but to me, I think the more versatility has more weapon. So even if Spence take away one weapon, he has another weapon. If you take away Spence's weapon, which is his jab to set up the straight, then he has no other option. So I have to go with Crawford on this. If I have to put money on, I have to go with Crawford. Granted that they would say that Spence is the bigger guy and he does hit hard, but when one weapon is taken away, he has to learn how to do another. But if you take away Crawford's weapon, he has so many other weapons that he can play. So I have to go with him.
12 rounds or stoppage?
I don't look at stoppage on this one. I mean, both guys are going to be very, very, very cautious, and I think he's going to go the distance on this one.
Going back now to your fight, man. Like I mentioned, you're fighting that night as well. What type of show can we expect from you? What do you expect from yourself in this fight?
I guess for me, one thing I want to see myself do on this fight is be very disciplined. I think when I'm disciplined, I can beat anybody. If because I lose my cool when I get hit with the jab, right? I want to go out there and kill. I want to go out there and brawl. I want to go out there and war. I don't mind doing all that stuff, but now I just want to be smart and be disciplined. I think that's the very key for me that I've been working on is becoming very, very disciplined, and when I can create a disciplined fighter in myself, I believe that I can set up a lot of the stuff to hurt people or to hurt the opponent inside that ring.
You expecting do you see style wise, do you expect that you'll finish him in this fight?
The guy's a tough guy. You don't ever really kind of, the guy he's a tough guy. He's never been down and stuff like that, but there's always a possibility, and I know a possibility of taking him, but I'm not going to be over, I guess. I'm not going to try too hard to go get it. If it's a point where I can set it up, I'm going to get it. But being disciplined is one thing that I want to become in this fight.
Yeah, man, it'd be another great achievement to add to the many achievements you've had over your
title
in your career, man. Like you mentioned, you've been fighting now 20 what is it, 22 years?
Yeah, 22 years. You're going for the 23. You know, at the end of the year, it's 23 years. So professionally, you know.
That's well, yeah. We won't count the street fights growing up and all that, but yeah, you made your debut in February 22nd of 2001.
That's right.
How much did you make in that first fight?
$400.
$400?
$400. It was $100 a round.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
What'd you do with that first paycheck?
Uh-huh.
What'd you do with that first paycheck? The first $400?
I have no idea, man. We probably bought some food and gave it to my dad. That's pretty much where a lot of the money kind of went, you know. I always try to give it to my family and stuff like that.
That's crazy, man. When you started, did you ever think that what you achieve now was possible, or you always kind of had a feeling that the sky is the limit for me?
Well, I never thought I was gonna stay in boxing for a very long time. That's something that I know, and I never thought that I was gonna accomplish all of this stuff. But I did feel within me that I was special. You know, I always felt like, man, I know I'm destined for something. You know, maybe every kid has that, but I've always felt that as I was growing older. You know, I've always felt that. I've always felt that I have this spark that was just special.
Wow, man. What would you attribute that to? Like, when did you notice that?
I've always been a daydreamer growing up. So every time I would run, I would always dream. I've always manifest all the things that I want. But I've always felt within me that I was always destined for something. You know, like even in boxing, even now, I still feel like I'm destined to do something great. You know, and it may not be in boxing, but I know I still feel that I have a purpose to do before I leave, I guess. But I've always been destined to do something amazing in this world. So I have no idea. Even becoming a world champion, even doing this and even doing that, it's not that feeling that I have that I'm supposed to achieve. You know, this right now was just like because I worked hard, because I did this, because I believed in it, because I manifested it. But within me, there's always this spark that you are to be something greater. You're gonna do something amazing still.
Well,
So
I'm not sure if you're
that way, man.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this stat, but you've been a world champion in 3 different decades.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Right? Because you won your first world title in 2007, and then from 2010 to now, you know, you've been multiple weight world champion. So, hey, man, hats off to you, Nonito. Like I mentioned, you're one of boxing's ageless wonders. It's always great chatting with you, bro. Always good seeing you. And I hope that we get to see that the drop to 115 to get those fights.
That'll be fun.
With those guys, man, because those would be crazy, tremendous fights. On an ending note, Nonito, man, hey, any last words? What do you want to say to everyone out there?
I just want to say what's up to everybody out there. I just want to say thank you for all this support that you guys have given me. So stay tuned on the 29th. Showcase another me, a youthful me, man. So, you know, check it out. And thank you again, brother. Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Of course, that is Nonito Donaire, who fights July 29th on this Spence versus Crawford pay-per-view on Showtime. One of boxing's ageless wonders, multiple weight world champion, and first ballot Hall of Famer, Mr. Nonito Donaire. Thank you, Nonito.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you.
That was Nonito Donaire. As always, big ups to him. Thank you so much. He fights, like I mentioned, July 29th on this Spence versus Crawford card. Next week, let's see who we got in action. Next week, the return of the ferocious one, George Kambosos, will be in action against Maxie Hughes in where is this? Where's this fight? Oklahoma. Huh. Strange place to have a fight for George Kambosos in Oklahoma, but interesting to see how George bounces back. Last time we saw him were those 2 fights that he had with Devin Haney. He's still at 135 pounds. I know from a chat that I had with him a few weeks back that I showed on here that he's looking for the big fights. Tank Davis, potentially Shakur Stevenson, Pitbull Cruz. He's on the top ranked side, so I think a Shakur Stevenson fight would make sense for them. But hey, let George cross the street, bro. For real. Like, I'd love to see that fight with him and Tank. I think that stylistically, that's a very good fight. That it'll be a very entertaining fight. Obviously, Gervonta is going to be the favorite just because of his punching power. But look, George said, hey, if I get knocked out, I get knocked out. Like, no big deal. You know, I'm there for the biggest fights. And I think that's a fight that you can go with because George is going to talk his ish. But George Kambosos is returning this weekend in Oklahoma on ESPN via Top Rank. I think that does it, guys. Hey, go ahead, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow us on social media at FightUpTV on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads. There's so many of these freaking social media platforms now. Follow me as well at Hey, it's Marcos V. And, you know, I'll touch a little bit on this. This is something I've kind of been struggling with, but, you know, I don't know why I don't even listen to my own advice sometimes because I feel like I have really good advice. But, you know, don't work yourselves too much where you can't, like, really enjoy life. Like, you know, the last 3 weeks, I've had two friends of mine pass away. Both worked here for the channel, Dominic Dominguez and Marcelo Alvarez, and both young. You know, Marcelo was 45. He died of cancer. And I spent a lot of time with Marcelo, working with him at the beginning of this channel and also at the boxing channel for about 5, 6 years, man. And I spent a lot of time with him. And Dominic as well helped do a lot of camera work and social media work. Unfortunately, Dom overdosed 2 weeks ago. He was a close friend of him and Amado Vargas, the middle child of the Vargas brothers, were really, really close. And he was young, man. He's 25. And it's just gotten me thinking a lot overall. Like, one, like, I work too much. I never have time off. Vacation. Last year was the first vacation I took in like 7, 8 years. And even then I was stressed the F out because I was like overseeing everything in the channel. You know, feel like I'm a slave to the channel at times, you know, where like I can't get a day off. I'm always on call. I can't really enjoy life. I can't do any of the normal things that people can do. And sometimes, man, I wish I had just a regular 9 to 5 again, even though I know I could not ever go back to that because it would just feel so good to just clock out sometimes at 6:30 and not have to worry about anything. Go and play video games for like 3 hours. Go work out. Go meet up with friends and have dinner. Just live life. You know, I haven't been able to do that for the longest time. And sometimes I think about, has all this work that I've put into this really been worth it if I can't enjoy like life? And like with Marcelo and Dominic passing away, man, it's really, really, really weighed heavily on me in terms of wanting to enjoy life, not wanting to be stressed out. All these other like things that I felt, I always kind of knew they weren't important, but they were first and foremost on my mind because as like a leader in this space, you want to stay the leader. You want to stay on top, you know? But it's really, with them passing, man, it's made me realize like I need to enjoy life a little bit more, but there is a worry there that like, okay, I take time away. What's going to happen to the channel? Yeah, that's really it. It's what's, you know, there's other people that depend on me also for work with the channel. And it's like, it's a weird spot, man, but it's like, I'm desperately wanting to just kind of relax and enjoy life because I look at them too. And it's like all the things I thought, when I really think about it, they weren't important, but during the time they were kind of like a priority. And like, it doesn't matter, man. All that stuff doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, I feel like 30 years from now, like I hope I don't ask myself like, yo, like was working that much really worth it? You know, that's still a question even now that I ask myself is all this really worth it, bro? Like go live life, go and enjoy yourself, man. Like go hang out with your friends. Like when do I get a chance to see my friends and my family? Like go take trips, like go travel, like, you know, but we'll see what happens. Kind of left you guys on a somber note. I don't even know if I'll publish this. But one thing I can say is I appreciate the people that have rocked with us over the years. Really appreciate their support. We've never had a handout from anybody. This has all been through hard work. The reason why we got here is through hard work, not through anybody else's help, any other fighters' help. And just keep supporting us, guys. Keep helping us grow. Let's grow this. I hope to turn this into like a live thing every Monday with, more guests. That's the other thing. It's hard to get guests for this, man, right now. You would think it wouldn't be, given the size of the channel, but it's a bit of a challenge. But all I can say is this, man. I'm glad I'm able to talk about this now. Like, I've kind of had time to kind of grieve both of them, and especially Marcelo, because Marcelo was Marcelo had a big impact on me. Taught me a ton, but with the channel, like I feel like he was very crucial in how the content is presented on the channel. He taught me a lot on like editing and filming, but also and I've always had a hard work ethic, but I feel like he brought the best out of me in terms of these events where I'm getting 7, 8, 9, 10 interviews in a day. And like, it kind of helped develop like, yo, this is the benchmark for me. This is what I know I can get out of me, and this is the standard. We should be getting this amount of content at these events. And I still haven't found anybody else that I've meshed so well with that's gotten that much out of me. But learn that, at the end of the day, like, we can't stress over the small things. Like, life's so short, man. Like 45, 25, it's nuts. It's just nuts to me. Just gotta go out and live our lives and just be happy, man. Just be happy, not stress. Stress is the real killer, guys. That's what it is. Okay, that's enough sad face Marcos for 1 hour and a half or for whatever. But please keep supporting, guys. Subscribe, follow us as well. We'll be here next week. We're going to be previewing the Spence versus Crawford fight going down July 29th. Going to bring in some trainers, some Hall of Famers to go ahead and get their insights. So from me to you, with much love, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys. And on behalf of the Fight Up team, live life, man. Live life. It's short. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the time here. Enjoy time with your friends, and most importantly, your parents. And stay positive. Take it easy, guys.